fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point if Aaron Jones misses time where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a safe shot, pin high left with a 6-iron. And then this is where JJ enters the fray again and hits this like slice 5-iron. That was just, I mean, it curved probably a good, 30, 40 feet, almost flies in the hole. And it was just a crazy shot because nobody would ever really try to hit that type of slider.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
An HRR, parlay, a combo that you want to do. I generally prefer away teams and players that hit at the top of the lineup or in the top half, just because you are guaranteed just that extra plate appearance here or there. How many times, throughout the season, I've been like, listen, if this guy gets on, he will have one more at bat in the 9th inning. And if he doesn't get there, he doesn't get there. If you just take them that's placed higher, you're going to be in a spot to cash that back.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Who's ready to rock and roll? It's a Wednesday morning, a hump day right here on the Sports Grid Network. It's time for the early line. It's Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Ranieri, and you know the drill. Over the next 2 hours, we got you covered on all the hottest topics out here, which includes Major League Baseball and what it was day yesterday. Yeah, the New York Yankees pounding away in Tampa. It's like, hey, it's just like we're at our home field at this point. Oh, the dimensions are the same. We're used to playing here in spring training. That was sensational. Also, quarterbacks changing hands. Who's going to lead their teams in the NFL? We'll get to that, Joe Ranieri, and much more over the next 2 hours as we wait for college football week 0 to start on Saturday. What a joyous time in the middle of August.
Gotta love it. Middle of the week, middle of August. We all know what is right around the corner here, Donnie. And it gets to kick off this weekend, and I am all for it. Is it bad that I can't wait for the end of August? Is that bad, Donnie? Is that a bad thing?
It's not. I always look at saying, hey, June 1st is here. Can we fast forward to September 1? I do like the summer. I like the warmer weather. I like the slower time frames, but also I love football season. I love cooler temperatures. I like when the leaves change here in the Northeast and I get to put a hoodie on and have some fun and run around the neighborhood and be like, ooh, better get home for the Philadelphia Eagles game. That's coming closely for us here, Joe Ranieri, no doubt about it. But you know what time is now? The 7 and 7, as always, hot topics that you need to be kept up on, which starts with the Indianapolis Colts. I was actually mildly surprised by this. Daniel Jones named the starting quarterback for the Colts week 1. And the understanding is we hope that Daniel Jones starts the entire season. Anthony Richardson to the bench, people.
You got to listen, if you believe in Shane Steichen as a head coach, then you've got to respect this decision that he thinks Danny Dimes gives you the best shot at winning games this season as opposed to Anthony Richardson. Now, I don't know if that means that we should look at Danny Dimes and be like, well, he's probably much improved, right? New team, new cut. Or are we looking at Richardson and going, I told you, number 4 overall pick 2 years ago should not have been playing football in any way, shape, or form. Either which way, the Colts have decided Danny Dimes gives them the best chance at winning. I want that to soak in there, Donnie, for a minute.
We're going to get the statistics on Danny Dimes and why he should not be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And the understanding here for the Colts, once again, was let's bring in Daniel Jones. He's probably not going to be a threat to be the starting quarterback, but he'll be competent enough if something goes wrong, he can be the starting quarterback. Game number 1 of the 2025 season, he's going to be quarterback when the only thing, Joe, we wanted to know was can Anthony Richardson be our quarterback? If Daniel Jones outperformed you in the preseason and in camp, I don't think you're going to be a starting quarterback ever in the National Football League. Looking at other starters here, how about this? The Miami Dolphins add veteran linebacker Matthew Judon to try to beef up that pass rush. I don't know if that's going to help their team this year. He's a solid player, but I look at the powder keg that is down in Davie right now practicing and say to myself, I don't think we're going to get too many good vibes here. But Judon to the Dolphins. We'll see if it helps.
Well, I had heard on Monday that he was coming to town, but we had also heard down in these parts, Donnie, that there are some big-time injury concerns right now with the Dolphins, and especially the pass rush. Jalen Phillips, the rookie Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb, all questionable, obviously, at what point they're going to be able to play for the Dolphins this year. The biggest issue for them over the last couple of years has been a pass rush. So adding Judon is not going to hurt. They need depth, and hopefully they'll be able to get some of those guys back, because otherwise they're not getting to any quarterbacks anytime soon.
Ooh, remember when they got Bradley Chubb? Like, what a steal. Guy's going to dominate. The guy seems like he plays like every other month, not every other game at this point. The Dolphins do have talent, which is always interesting to me, but it just feels like, Joe, like a 1-3 start. The house will be cleaned out quickly down there at Hard Rock Stadium. Let's keep moving and keep it in the state of Florida. How about this? Yesterday, Joe Ranieri told you he liked those New York Yankees. And I was like, it's an interesting matchup. Shane Baz on the mound. Boy, analytics love this guy, but the ERA tells you he gets hammered. Oh, he got hammered yesterday. 13 runs for the New York Yankees, 9 home runs. It was like, Joe, they were playing in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. I can't figure out why the dimensions are the same in Tampa.
They felt pretty comfortable there, didn't they? And they had to wait over 2 hours because of a rain delay. Donnie, I thought this game was going to get postponed. They were playing 2 today, but nope, they ended up waiting. They got it in. And believe it or not, the most impressive thing wasn't the 9 home runs they hit last night and only scored 13 runs. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But it was that they had 11,000 people there that waited 2.5 hours to watch that debacle. So kudos to Tampa and the Yankee fans coming out and celebrating last night.
Yeah, the Yanks hit 9 home runs last night. If that was played in the Trop, they probably get 1 home run. So hallelujah, playing outside in the elements here. Where that ball is traveling, and it does down in Tampa. Absolutely love to see that here. If we keep up with the hot topics here and switch over to college football, which again, week 0 is this week. How about this? Arch Manning said, hey, Papa, calm down, man. Stop being my PR guy. Everybody's getting angry because I want to let you know that if I play well, there's a chance I'm not coming back to Texas, Papa.
I thought that was great, man. That was we all scratched our head and said, well, he is pretty close to his grandfather. So maybe, just maybe, Grandpa's got no filter right now. And maybe he's letting us in on a little secret. But as it turns out, the kid yesterday is pretty much like, stop yelling at the clouds, Grandpa. Like, stop it. No, we're good. Like, I'm just going to take it day by day. It all depends, and we've talked about it. How successful this Texas team and Arch Manning this year will determine if he comes back to college in any way, shape, or form next year.
It's almost like, back in the day, as we can now say, which is like 10 years ago, before you can pay the college football players, you would always get the uncle or the father, the stepfather, like, yeah, my son's going to go to LSU as long as you give me 50 G's in a bag that you're going to drop off tomorrow morning. It's almost like, Archie Manning was like, you know what? I got to deal with Texas that if my kid comes or my grandson comes back, that's an extra $1 in my pocket. Yeah, he's coming back at this point right now. And Archie's like, hey, man, hold on. Because again, if he wins the Heisman Trophy, they win a national championship. Of course, he's coming back to Texas. Stop the madness at that point right now. U.S. Open. How about this? Raducanu and Alcaraz out of the doubles tournament. Oh, no. How can I sleep tonight, Joe?
Well, that's actually pretty big because I know they were actually, I believe, one of the favorites to take down the title there. But there's a few other injury rumors going on with the Open too, so we're gonna have to see how this all plays out.
Open coming up soon. Every time you start talking about like Labor Day, it's always synonymous with the U.S. Open. And it's like, boy, how long does this U.S. Open go? They better finish up before football starts because then nobody's going to want to watch them on TV. But obviously, the Open is big news there in New York, in Flushing, Queens. That's coming up on deck here. You know what else is coming up on deck too? Talking more college football with Notre Dame. C.J. Carr named the starter for week number 1 at quarterback for the Fighting Irish.
Wow, believe it or not, like how Notre Dame has to get a Michigan kid to come by, because don't forget Lloyd Carr Sr., who was his grandpa there, former Michigan head coach. But he was really the fast track all summer long. It was CJ Carr. They were just hoping that he would separate himself, and he did. He beat out the sophomore there, Kenny Minchie, in order to get land the starting job. So they're going to be an interesting team to keep an eye on early, especially in that game against Miami to open it up.
The Convicts and the Catholics to open up the season, man. Gotta love to see that here. Notre Dame and Miami see that favorite slightly there for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Indiana Fever, the WNBA, yeah, it's still going on. And yet another injury here for the Fever. Sophia Cunningham out for the season, Joe.
I hope she's not out of posting on X, because it might be one of the most entertaining follows, Donnie, that there is right now on X.
You know, it could be an entertaining follow. Ed Orgeron getting back into college football. Says he wants to come back. Love those Tigers down there in the Bayou. We'll talk more Colts football next, and Daniel Jones right here on the early line.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Oh, yeah. Back on the early line, it's hour number one. Things are falling into place, Joe Ranieri, right? The closer we get to the NFL season, the more answers that we get. Now, are people still upset about their contract? Trey Hendrickson says, I'm not budging. Neither is Terry McLaurin. Micah Parsons, he's almost on the back burner. We don't even get any squabbles anymore between Jerry and Micah Parsons. Like, hey, you know what? We already agreed to this deal. 15 minutes before we play the Eagles, we'll announce the deal, but always under the assumption that he was playing anyway, talking about Micah Parsons. But one thing that popped up yesterday where we're talking about the day before, Joe Flacco starting quarterback here for the Cleveland Browns, it was like, okay, that makes sense. The guys are injured, need a starting quarterback. He's been around the block, and we'll see how many starts that he gets. This one that came up yesterday did surprise me a little bit. Daniel Jones has been named the starting quarterback here for the Indianapolis Colts. And if we were looking, Joe, at the odds market just a few weeks ago, like a week and a half ago, heavily skewed and heavily favored to obviously the backup quarterback now, who is Richardson. But Richardson obviously isn't performing up to capabilities because you didn't get beat out by an aging Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, man, I can live with this. An aging Joe Flacco. You get Daniel Jones, who doesn't do anything spectacular. Like, if you looked at his Giants career, yeoman's work for the most part, but as he got later, you could almost, agree that he was better as like a rookie in a second year than he was later in his career. Doesn't throw the football downfield, doesn't make good decisions at this point. But he beat out Anthony Richardson. Joe, I am confused about the Colts right now.
Well, part of me is like, all right, we got a few things working here, right, Donnie, that could really be a whole lot of fun. Number one, suppose he has the best year of his career because maybe he's finally got some stability in a offense and a head coach and an offensive coordinator. Something, by the way, he never had with the Giants from the minute he was drafted number 6 in 2019 overall. So maybe, just maybe, he shows he can actually hold the fort down and win a few games here for Shane Steichen. The other thing is, they should have done this the minute they drafted Richardson, 3 years ago, Donnie, 2 years ago? He should have been on the bench, learning the game, behind a guy like Danny Dimes. I think they didn't do him any favors starting him the last couple of years, getting hurt. He wasn't ready to be an NFL quarterback and a leader among men in that locker room after 1 year at Florida. This is exactly the path they should have took 2 years ago. But now that's what he's only 23, Donnie. Well, I mean, they're not getting rid of him. He's only 23. This is exactly what they should do to calm the situation down.
Hey, it's not like it was Chris Winkie coming into the league or Tyler Shuck that, hey, man, half your prime is already away, it seems like. And even Jaden Daniels, we love how young and athletic he is. He's older than Anthony Richardson. So there is something to Shane Steichen coming out at that, post-practice press conference saying, we still have big things and high hopes for Richardson, which, again, he's not brand new into the league. He's been here a couple of years. Like Lamar Jackson came in young and was dynamic right away. We just haven't seen the capabilities that he is a competent starting quarterback. And I do agree with that. But when I look at the Colts, it's similar, Joe, the way that I look at the Cleveland Browns. What's the MO for the organization? Daniel Jones is not your franchise guy. So what are you trying to do as an organization? I understand. General managers to keep their job, coaches to keep their job, owners to be happy where they can go out in public. You do have to win football games. There is some merit to that. But if you're telling me like Daniel Jones's optics are he's going to play 17 weeks, we're going to win 6 football games and not find out about Anthony Richardson at all anymore, I don't know what we're doing. Like for me, if you started Anthony Richardson in week number 1, Joe, and he was terrible in the month of September, you know what you do? All right, kid, get to the bench. Daniel Jones is going to be the starter the rest of the way. Try to learn. We don't think you have a future here, but we're not going to cut you because there is a chance that Daniel Jones can get hurt and we'll need you to get back in that football game sometimes later in the season. That's what I'm worried about. So from my angle, it's not as if I don't like Daniel Jones because I really don't, to be honest. But it's Anthony Richardson I have to find out about. I already found out about Daniel Jones, right?
Well, that's the whole point, did we? Because we supposedly figured out Sam Darnold, too, until he ended up with the right coach in the right situation. And all of a sudden, Sam Darnold now is not what we thought he was. So all I'm saying is I believe in Shane Steichen. You know him, former Eagles OC, right? The guy is a great offensive mind in the NFL. If he thinks Danny Dimes gives him the best shot at winning this right now, then you got to take that on face value and say, hey, he gives us the best chance of winning. Could we be seeing Sam Darnold number 2 here, a guy that was buried with an organization that did him no favors, Let's see if Shane Steichen can get the best out of Danny Dimes before we take a knife to it.
Yeah, I don't think he can, though. Like, at least like Sam Darnold came in, I was like, oh, there's some excitement there. I think when Daniel Jones got drafted to the Giants, like outside of Giants fans, we all laughed at the Giants fans and the Giants. Like, what is this guy going to do? And he turned out to have 24 touchdowns his rookie year, Joe, then had 11, 10, 15, 2, and 8 after that. I just don't think he's a quarterback that you can rely on, except for just to get starts and not get victories here. Now, they're going to come up and take on the Miami Dolphins in week number 1. You look at the lines there. The Dolphins are getting 2.5 points. The Colts are a 2.5-point favorite in a total of 46.5. And he's surprised in that one because, to be honest, that could go either. I'm telling you right now, if the Dolphins lose that game, there's a chance that they might fire their head coach right on the spot before they can get to the tarmac.
Yeah, well, the Dolphins have their own set of issues they're dealing with. But listen, Danny Dimes under center versus Richardson doesn't move the needle one way or the other. I'm not running to fade the Colts win total. I'm not running to back the over because I think they made the right decision. I mean, to me, I don't believe the market's moving one way or the other with Daniel Jones or Richardson. The upside for Richardson, obviously, more athletic, has an ability to be able to beat him. Doesn't mean, by the way, Donnie, that the threat of Richardson or having packages that he can run aren't going to happen here. But I'd be shocked. I'd be very, very shocked if Miami doesn't win that first game. But if Indy does win it, then we're going to have to take a hard look at what this Colts team is moving forward, or maybe just look to fade Miami as often as possible.
Jonathan Taylor in that backfield, some wide receiver work. Daniel Jones out dueling Tua. Tyreek's going to be upset. Waddle's going to pop a hamstring here. They have no defensive lineman here that you can rush the quarterback with. And Daniel Jones goes for 225, 2 scores in the air and 1 on the ground. And the Colts are triumphant here. Can that play out in South Florida at that point? What's that, the Sun Sentinel? Who's going to print that out down there? Oh, no, McDaniel fired there after a big loss to the Indianapolis Colts. It could happen, but also we want to take that picture of now with Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback, Joe. Does that change any thoughts here in the AFC South for myself and Joe Ranieri? Come on back to the early line. We'll talk about everything.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
He said that was his decision, not a smart baseball play. Like, shut up, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really. If Ohtani wants to steal third base on his own, let him steal third base on his own, bro. Like, he's Shohei Ohtani. He made the call. He was wrong. He was out. Okay. I wouldn't have called him out for it.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Multiple times on 18 today. It was just so wild. I mean, the distances, JJ hit it to the exact same spot. He had 30 feet, 36 feet, and 30 feet, and made the second playoff hole, the 30-footer there. And then they go to recut the hole.
Which I like. I like that, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was great, but I'm like, dude, he might hole out from the fairway. Cutting the hole where he's hit every single approach shot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he's a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's a Hump Day Wednesday right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's the early line. It's Donnie Rightside and it's Joe Ranieri taking a look at what the Colts' futures might actually be at this point. When the news came down yesterday, Joe, that Daniel Jones was the starting quarterback here for the Indianapolis Colts, I put out a tweet right away. It's like crazy, man. Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, if it would have been like Anthony Richardson is going to start, I would have saw that because, correct me if I'm wrong, minus 200s, minus 300s as a favorite for Richardson. We had a quarterback race, Joe, over the summer that saw both of these guys as the favorite at one time. If you remember, it's like, of course Daniel Jones is going to start. Anthony Richardson can't throw a football. Something's wrong with his shoulder, only to find out like 3 days later, like, no, my shoulder is fine, and he went back to the favorite here. Neither one of these guys lit the world on fire in the preseason, but I always tell you, Joe, right, and you understand this, you don't win it by playing in the preseason games. You win it like in the locker room. You win it on the chalkboard. You win it in the meetings, and you win it on the practice field. And it's apparent that Daniel Jones is playing better football in practice to Shane Steichen than obviously Anthony Richardson is.
Yeah, it to me is all stems from how much faith do you have in Shane Steichen and doing this. It's obvious that the front office, which is a good thing, is saying it's your call, Shane. Like, which one, yes, we drafted him, the fourth pick here a couple of years ago. But if you don't feel it gives us the best shot to win, we know other organizations who have made moves like this. Kind of the demand came from the top and said, you're going to play him, we're going to figure it out, and that's going to be the end of it. So the fact that they got Danny Dimes on a one-year deal, they're still the third favorite, right, to win the AFC South behind Houston and Jacksonville, I believe. At least I saw that on FanDuel. I think they were about 3-1. They also have the ninth best odds of reaching the playoffs among the AFC teams. So does this help or hurt that cause? I think it's a lateral move. Whether Richardson comes with his own question marks, Danny Dimes comes with his. Either way, I don't see the market moving a lot one way or the other because of this decision.
Yeah, and also this decision, too, doesn't seem to be in the short term, which I agree with, which we're going to get to right now. Adam Schefter put out a tweet yesterday basically saying that Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback. Then he, quote, tweeted that with what Shane Steichen said. And what Shane Steichen said was this. He's not planning for this to be a short-term arrangement for Daniel Jones. Quote, he's the starting quarterback for a reason. I don't want to have a short leash on that. Understand this. We understand Daniel Jones is probably going to be on a short leash. But you can't tell Daniel Jones and the public he's on a short leash. I mean, tell like Joe Ranieri and myself, like, hey, you better have the best 5 minutes of your life right on the network. We'll blast it out. But don't base it on just that 5 minutes and say, if you don't, we have 16 hosts that are coming behind you. Hey, we love you, kid. See you here for the next 10 years. Now, that's up to you if you stay there as a starting quarterback for 10 years. But I would have actually got a kick out of Shane Steichen goes, man, I don't like either one of these quarterbacks. Daniel Jones is going to play. We might be series to series right now. You can't tell your starting quarterback, your football team, your fan base, and your ownership group that's the case here. So, of course, he's going to say, yes, Daniel Jones is a starter. I expect him to start the whole season. That's the way you have to play it. Otherwise, you'd scramble the brains of both your quarterbacks.
Yeah, and again, this is all dependent upon, and I think a big reason why Danny Dimes was named for Steichen has to do with the fact of, listen, don't turn the ball over, right? I don't think Shane Steichen's going to ask Danny Dimes to do a whole lot of anything, right? Except, Donnie, don't turn the ball over, right? That's what you want. They're going to protect him. You have a big-time running game, more of a running game than Danny Dimes has ever had in his entire career with the Giants. Yeah. I mean, they have legit offensive linemen. They got tight ends. They've got a stud running back. I think Steichen is not going to ask him to do that much. Now, Danny Dimes, if he's a turnover machine, then, yeah, I think the short hook is coming here for either guy, by the way. Can't turn the ball over.
By the way, can we put up that graphic again if we have it back there for the AFC South and what the price points are? Because I just want to do a quick little double check on how we can play this out. You know what's crazy with this, Joe? I mean, I got to be honest. The Texans at plus 115 does make sense. Very good defense, talent on offense, CJ Stroud. I do think they are the best team in that conference. But the Jaguars and the Colts are side by side at plus 3-1. You're telling me that the Jacksonville Jaguars, whose key is let's unlock Trevor Lawrence because we think he's a dominant quarterback, and we got Liam Cohen now as the head coach. How are they a 3-1 price with Daniel Jones starting? That one I just can't get over on those price points. Do you agree with that? That they should be even? Because I clearly think the Jacksonville Jaguars are better right now than the Indianapolis Colts.
But if I'm not mistaken, it's always been the Colts that have dominated that series, right? In the regular season when they play each other. Like the Colts are the ones that have always dominated Jacksonville there. And really, nobody's expecting anything of Tennessee. They're right where somebody's got to win that division. And we'll see who it's going to be.
I can't wait to find out. And by the way, the Colts do have talent. It's not a quarterback position. Let's talk more football next. Matthew Judon on deck, people. We'll be right back.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
He said that was his decision, not a smart baseball play. Like, shut up, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really. If Ohtani wants to steal third base on his own, let him steal third base on his own, bro. Like, he's Shohei Ohtani. He made the call. He was wrong. He was out. Okay. I wouldn't have called him out for him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Multiple times on 18 today. It was just so wild. I mean, the distances, JJ hit it to the exact same spot. He had 30 feet, 36 feet, and 30 feet, and made the second playoff hole, the 30-footer there. And then they go to recut the hole.
Which I like. I like that, by the way.
Well, I thought it was great, but I'm like, dude, he might hole out from the fairway. Like, they cut the hole where he's hit every single approach shot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
What would you tell the people right now, though? Like, okay, I like the Rams heading into the season, but I'm not sure about Matthew Stafford because people want to get their bets in. People want their team totals. People want to bet week number 1 here. So what's your prognosis on the Rams? We'll talk long-term in a second. Week number 1. Are we just going to say, like, yeah, he's ready. Bullets are flying. He looks great out there because he is a tough dude. But again, a back injury for a quarterback trying to get all that torque on passes, usually not good.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, talking some NFL action, going a little division by division, having some fun, talking about some impactful moves, just like a quarterback position change that we expected in Indianapolis. Just didn't know which change it was actually going to be. And it turns out that Daniel Jones is going to be that starting quarterback. And I'll tell you, a lot of smoke in South Florida. When you looked at the Miami Dolphins roster for the past 2 to 3 years, the head coach that was a boy genius, that you thought that big things were in store. Have they played good football at times? Yes. Has their quarterback gotten injured at the wrong times? Absolutely. But there was way too much talent in Miami for the productivity, Joe, that we got out of their seasons. Now, we're not saying they're going to be terrible this year, but I'm basically telling you they might be terrible this year. Matthew Judon comes down on a 1-year deal. Veteran player that can get after the quarterback. It's never a bad thing. But anytime I just hear anything about the Miami Dolphins, even if it's getting a quality player, I just still get back to the organization and say, this is the worst powder keg in the NFL. Like, it just doesn't seem like you're going to light the fuse, and when the gas can explodes, it's 12 wins. It feels like you light it, the gas can goes up in flames, and you find 3 wins and everything blown up in the organization. But Judon heads down to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and, we've heard a lot this preseason about how there is a lack of leadership in that locker room. A lot of people point that it starts at the top with their coach, McDaniel, who, is on a short leash. And, he comes out and does interviews and says some of the wildest stuff, Donnie. You're kind of scratching your head with him. But if we are already having issues with leadership in the locker room, winning cures a lot, but you know what? Losing just exasperates it and just puts it on a collision course of all right, halfway through the season, the Dolphins will be looking for a new head coach here. But, the Dolphins every year have been about the health of Tua. If Tua, and you can protect Tua, which there is a lot of question marks on whether that offensive line can protect him. If you can protect Tua and he can get in line with, he's got the talent around him, wide receivers, tight end, then Dolphins will be fine. The problem is if any of that breaks down, it's going to get ugly quickly, Donnie. And I mean quickly here in South Florida.
Because, again, you're right. The leadership in the locker room doesn't feel like we can hold this together. Like Tua was told for a long time, we're not going to pay because we think your head is going to be scrambled eggs in the next 2 to 3 years. That weighs on you there. Tua also had a head coach when he came in at the NFL, and Brian Flores was like, I didn't want you here on this football team. So right away it starts like that. Oh, you should have had Justin Herbert at this point. Again, we can always have those arguments. But Tyreek Hill is one of those dynamic wide receivers in football, but also sometimes he gets lost in his own headspace here and basically can tell you after week number 1, I had 9 catches, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I didn't get the football enough. Maybe it's time for me to move on. Jalen Waddle on the opposite side, absolutely electric. He can be injured as well and get caught up in that same headspace as Tyreek Hill. It just seems like you have to get off to a good start, which is why we talked about, like, to open the show in the Miami Dolphins. It was, what happens if they lose to the Colts and things just unravel so quickly? This is no longer a team that I feel like is on the ascension. Like, we're just a couple players away from winning it all. Let's continue to add. It now feels like a team that's on its way down. The coach can basically read the room saying, I'm only be down here in South Florida for like another 6 months. Let's see if we can make the best of it, which usually doesn't work in your direction. So let's take a look at the odds, Joe, for the AFC East and to win that division. It's certainly not the Miami Dolphins. It's the Buffalo Bills at a heavy price, and rightfully so, at a minus 270. The Patriots are very interesting. New head coach, added a lot of talent, looking for that next step from your young rookie quarterback into his sophomore season in Drake May. Then there's the Miami Dolphins. And then I guess everybody's running for the hills on the Jets once they saw Justin Fields play. Like, oh, that's our quarterback. But it seems like it's the Bills, the division. I don't care how much you add to the Miami Dolphins with Matthew Judon. Not going to make a difference for me, Joe.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Judon is 33, coming off of one of the worst seasons that he has had. I think he only had 5.5 sacks last year for Atlanta. He did have that bicep injury back in 2023 with the Patriots. So it wasn't a great year. It could be age. Listen, at 33 years old, you're not going to be a 4-down guy here, but he brings veteran leadership into that locker room, which is never a bad thing. And he's a rotational guy that can, listen, you don't know what Chubb is going to do. You had mentioned you never know whether or not he's going to be on the field or not on the field. Phillips has been injured. They got the kid Chop Robinson, the rookie. They'll rotate him in. I don't hate the move, but it's not moving the needle for me because the Dolphins' success from a betting perspective has everything to do with that offensive line and protecting Tua. If you do, the Dolphins are going to surprise a lot of people.
Very few teams you'll enter a season and you say at the quarterback position, like, yes, you want to keep them upright, which is always standard procedure. The offensive line, particularly the tackle situation, not that good in Miami, but this isn't your quarterback. You say, okay, don't hit him in the leg, in the ribs, in the arm, because quarterbacks get injured that way all the time. We're worried about Tua Tagovailoa getting pushed down and banging his head on the turf and not playing football again. That's why sometimes it's so hard to get behind football. Because in a perfect world, like, hey, Tua never gets injured and it's a fun offense and McDaniel can tie it up and Tyreek can go for 2,000 yards like he stated he wanted to do the past couple of years. But also at any given moment where, like, week 3, you're going to, like, Skylar Thompson. Boom, see ya. Season over at that point. We'll find out shortly, but the Bills certainly look like the class of the AFC East. Let's get to some other injury news, which came up from a preseason game over the weekend. How about head coach Todd Bowles saying that Jalen McMillan suffered a severely strained neck and will miss time to start the season? McMillan is currently in a neck brace. Well, they did draft Ibuka in the draft, but this was one of those where it's like, you know what? Young kid coming into his own, playing good football here. Take that next step. He's down for at least half of the year, it looks like.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, right? Because you still got it. You got now Evans, who's 1 year older here, right? No spring chicken. And they will have Godwin back after the injury, it looks like, at some point. So, but this kid was explosive. This kid was very good for them. And that stinks. That's not something that Tampa Bay was thinking might be a possibility. It just means they're going to have some other guys that got to step up and and take over here. They have the talent again, but it's all about who they are under center and whether or not he can keep the trajectory going.
Yeah, let's take a look here at the odds in the NFC South, because again, McMillan being down doesn't really change all that much. You still have a solid wide receiving core. Igbuka drafted a really talented player from Ohio State. Godwin always fighting injuries, but coming back. Mike Evans on the outside, old reliable for 1,000 yards. And you actually have a very competent running game with some explosive players in that backfield. Now talking about Bucky Irving. Baker Mayfield looking to take the next step, a decent offensive line and a defense. That's always good. Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive coordinators in football. Say what you want about some head coaching decisions that he makes on a game day basis, but that defense is going to bring pressure and they're going to be pretty sound. They're the favorites to win that division, but it is a plus 100 price. The Falcons at a plus 210, the Panthers at plus 410, and then the Saints at a 13-1. I still think Tampa is the best team in this division, and if you just keep on rewinding back the years, like Tampa seems like they always win this division until somebody knocks them off. I don't think I'm going to go against Tampa. I would take the plus 100 here and say they're the best team in the division, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, they've had to. It stinks not having McMillan. Another weapon would be great.
Yeah.
But again, on the defensive side of the ball, that was a concentration because they had gotten a little bit older over the years. They kind of had to restock and reshuffle here a little bit on the defensive line and get some younger linebackers in there. But I'm with you. I'm a Todd Bowles guy. I think from a defensive perspective, he has done so much with less than most coaches can. I think the offense can carry this team for a while until they can get some sort of identity here on the defense. I trust Todd Bowles. I don't trust the Atlanta defense in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they drafted some pass rushers here. That was their big issue. We'll see if they can turn it around. But again, if Michael Penix Jr. doesn't have a good season, Raheem Morris is probably out in Atlanta as well. On top of that. So you're hired to be fired. We understand that in the NFL. But other quick news here. Aaron Rodgers of the Pittsburgh Steelers, still sounds funny saying that, not going to play in the final preseason game, which means no snaps in the preseason for the aging veteran. Does he need them? Probably not. Would it be good just to get a dress rehearsal? Yes. But maybe they figure they're playing the Jets week number 1, and that's like a dress rehearsal anyway with an easy victory walkover. Justin Fields and Joe Ranieri's New York Jets. Let's go over to Major League Baseball because Aaron Judge, does he ever talk or communicate with Aaron Boone? I don't think so. We'll find out next. Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16-1, Joe. 60-1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying there's too much talent on that team. And we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Jalen Lane, 4th-round receiver from Virginia Tech, who's a dynamic slot receiver. Run after the catch. He's had a phenomenal camp. Really great offseason. He is really gifted. And obviously with McLaurin not practicing, he's getting a lot more of a look.
Right.
Now, the problem is, without McLaurin, they're not very deep at the outside receiver position. But Jalen Lane is a stud talent. I'm telling you, this kid should have gone higher.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's going to regress a little potentially in touchdowns, but his role's not going to change. There's no other superstar on this team besides Josh Allen. So to me, James Cook, they need James Cook if the Buffalo Bills are going to repeat in that division again. They need him to be that guy in the offense because there isn't another star around Josh Allen. So James Cook is as close as it gets. I'm sorry. It's not Khalil Shakir. It doesn't look like it's ever going to be Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Apparently, Joe Ranieri, you don't need elbows to hit home runs. Why? Aaron Judge is living proof of that. Ouch! My elbow hurts. Ouch! That baseball into the seats last night down in Tampa. Part of a back-to-back first inning, which led to 9 home runs for the New York Yankees. So things might be good in Yankee land. They're starting to win games again. They're bashing at the plate. Hey, look at this. We might be able to chase down the Toronto Blue Jays, win the division, and at least make the playoffs at the worst-case scenario in the wild card race. How about this tweet from Talkin' Yanks yesterday on X? Aaron Judge says, I don't know why Aaron Boone said he wouldn't be throwing. Wow, look at this comment. Hold on. Let's get the phonics right here. Aaron Judge says, I don't know why Aaron Boone said he wouldn't be back to throwing 100% regularly this season. Could you word anything any crazier than that in an absolute tweet right now? But by the way, Judge adds, dude's not even paying attention to me. I'm only the biggest, brightest star in New York, and I'm about to win an MVP. But my manager doesn't even look to see what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, the quote, I believe, was, and that Twitter X handle there got botched. He said, quote, I don't think we're going to see him back to throwing like he normally does at any point this year. Man. He said, we got to feel like he can go out there and be able to protect himself and represent himself. And that was the whole point with Boone saying that, because somebody asked Judge, and Judge is like, the guy hasn't seen me throw the ball. Like, I don't, why is he even, I have no idea why he's saying that. He's like, I feel like, I'm right there. I'll be able to do it. So the interesting part with that is that if Judge has got to be your DH because you won't let him throw the ball, then what are we doing with Stanton here? That means now you've got a defensive liability come playoff time.
Yeah, by the way, I'm usually pretty fluent just reading topics, but let me read this once more on this tweet because I do think it's fun. Aaron Judge says, quote, I don't know, unquote, why Aaron Boone said he wouldn't be back to throwing 100% regularly this season. Fantastic stuff, man. Get that all the way through. That's my education right there, trying to find the knowledge in some oddly worded tweets right here as they pop up. But also, let me ask you this, Joe. Like, Aaron is the captain of this team, right? We understand that. He didn't put this out by saying, you know what, not being well calculated, because correct me if I'm wrong. This guy's not about controversy, saying just stupid things to say stupid things like, oh, it's just Aaron Judge like working. There's got to be something to this that says, hey, if you guys want to let this guy go, I'm okay with this here.
Yeah, and apparently he's on a very structured throwing routine, Donnie. So the trainers and everybody are working with him, and it clearly feels like Boone is like, yeah, no, we're not doing anything to jeopardize him. And it feels like Judge is like, what are you talking? I'm throwing the ball every day. Like, nothing hurts. I'm good to go here. I don't know why he's saying that. So, but just another example of how far apart could you guys possibly be on this topic is beyond me.
Now, it's pretty incredible as it plays out that way, too. And by the way, in that division, the Blue Jays won yesterday over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Max Scherzer on the mound picked up his 4th victory here. If we look at the odds in the AL right now to win the AL pennant, Tigers, Blue Jays, Yankees, Astros, Mariners, and Red Sox. And by the way, the Astros sitting there at plus 480. They feel like they should be sitting there at plus 4480 with their offense the past 3 days, which has been shut out. But hint, hint. I think they might hit a little bit this afternoon, but the Tigers still in front here, but the Yankees at that plus 480, they're not going away.
No, they are not. And again, when you hit 9 home runs, which, by the way, I believe for the second time, they did it against the Brewers early in the season as well at Yankee Stadium. In fact, at first, I think they scored 20 runs, which is what you would expect when you hit 9 home runs, by the way, not just 13 runs like they scored last night. But I had said it yesterday, Donnie, right? If the Yankees, are they dangerous postseason? Well, that makes them dangerous. What you just saw last night makes them dangerous against anybody, because as good as your pitchers may be, that is what that team is capable of. And the long ball usually wins in the postseason.
I thought the White Sox would hit yesterday, and they did. They scored 10 runs. Joe, they were up 10-4 in a game against the Atlanta Braves, who, again, have really no shot to make the playoffs. Here come the Atlanta Braves, 5 in the bottom of the 7th, 2 in the bottom of the 8th, to win that game 11-10 in an electric offensive atmosphere here. A 6-run comeback from the Braves here against the lowly Chicago White Sox. How about that one?
All right, do me a favor, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Take out that number 2 pencil and write down or text it into your phone. And remember, fade Bryce Elder. Every time he takes the mound, take the other team total over, take the first 5 over. The guy is an absolute gas can, and I have no idea. Just like there's those guys, Donnie, he's one of them where, he's pitching. I don't care who they're playing. We're going over.
No, and yesterday you should have gone over in that game. They scored 21 total runs in that game. I believe 3.5 with some juice was the White Sox team total yesterday. They plated 10 runs in that game. Other games out there yesterday. Are we worried about the Brewers, Joe? Attack of the Cubbies yesterday in a sweep of the doubleheader. How are we feeling about the Cubs' chances now back into that race?
Exactly what the Cubs needed to do. Jamison Taillon actually back for them. It looked pretty sharp in his return here, but a little bit of an overreaction for the price, I think, today because of that result. We'll have to get to that game a little bit later.
Yeah, Joe loved the Yankees yesterday, easily pulverized the Rays 13-3, and Aaron Judge is upset with his manager. We just went over some of the highlights there for the AL to see who can win that. But also, how about Tarek Skubal in a game where Detroit won 1-0 because nobody really scores on Tarek Skubal. He improves his Cy Young Awards market favorability to a -500 price now after that. Followed by Garrett Crochet, Hunter Brown, Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, who's now 60-1 because he's getting starts pushed back for shoulder fatigue, something similar that we saw to Zach Wheeler, and they ended up actually finding a blood clot there. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but that's why that big drop on a pitcher that's pitching well. Skubal's award to win it. It's the way it's always been here, Joe.
It has, but the bats once again for Houston, nowhere to be found. And for the near future,
3 straight.
For me, Donnie, when they're facing top-end pitching like a Skubal, the number ones, it's got under written all over for me for Houston until further notice.
By the way, this wasn't just any under either. Like, it was a 1-0 close game, but you got to extra innings. Like, baseball's like, here, you're staying on second. You can't even get some guy here. Take it. They still couldn't score at that point right now. Let's talk a little action in the NFL and possibly the upcoming draft. Where do those quarterbacks stack up? Next, right here on the Early Line. The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16-1, Joe. 60-1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team, and we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Jalen Lane, 4th-round receiver from Virginia Tech, who's a dynamic slot receiver. Run after the catch. He's had a phenomenal camp. Really great offseason. He is really gifted. And obviously with McLaurin not practicing, he's getting a lot more of a look. Right. Now, the problem is, without McLaurin, they're not very deep at the outside receiver position. But Jalen Lane is a stud talent. I'm telling you, this kid should have gone higher.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's going to regress a little potentially in touchdowns, but his role's not going to change. There's no other superstar on this team besides Josh Allen. So to me, James Cook, they need James Cook if the Buffalo Bills are going to repeat in that division again. They need him to be that guy in the offense because there isn't another star around Josh Allen. So James Cook is as close as it gets. I'm sorry, it's not Khalil Shakir. It doesn't look like it's ever going to be Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Hey now, college football quarterbacks want to make some money. How do you do that, Joe Ranier? It's simple. Go out there, play good football, get drafted high, make a lot of money. And maybe you can go on to be a superstar quarterback, like let's just say a Joe Montana or a Jalen Hurts, who's a Super Bowl MVP. Or you can get drafted high and be Anthony Richardson and be like, hey, you know what? I might be out of football. I'm 25 years old, but at least Anthony Richardson's cashing that first-round paycheck. When we look next year, Joe, and it is way too early to do that because the expectations were beginning of the season last year, Shadour's that number one quarterback. He's definitely going top 5, top 10, top 15 with first round, second round, third round. See where I'm going with this? A lot can change from the opening week of the college football season right through the combine and right through to draft night. And also, when you get information like Arch Manning, he's not coming out. Can't bet him now. Take him off the board. He's not even there too. Hey, Grandpa, quiet down over there. It's a really good chance I might come out if I play well. He moves up the board. So talk to me about how we get to the evolution, Joe, of, boy, this quarterback looks really good. And by the end of the season, it's like, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, no, well, and a lot of that has to do with exposure and obviously how good the team is. Those things go hand in hand. Unless you have some sort of crazy once-in-a-generation two-way player, Donnie, that is playing on a not great football team, but has another player on his team where the media and everybody are just following and doing everything in the world possible to promote. And just like that, you've got yourself a Heisman winner. But it's amazing to me, all the talk about Arch Manning. He's not the favorite to win it this year, but yet he is in a position in the team that a lot of people, the number one team right now, preseason, could very well be the number one team when it's all said and done. How does a guy like that, if he goes from the beginning of the season and ends the season, how is that not your favorite? How's he not the Heisman winner in some way, shape, or form there?
Yeah, we look at the quarterback names that are on the list because typically you start to zero in and be like, hey, we're going to tank for Trevor or, Andrew Luck back in the day. Like we see quarterbacks, or even Caleb Williams for that matter, of how much excitement there was for him being a college quarterback and who's going to be bad to get that player. It seems like it's Arch Manning right now, but also it's the hype around Arch Manning because you see Caleb Williams come a mile away. Like, dude, we see him play a lot of football. He's electric, Heisman Trophy chances and all this, good stuff. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Boy, he's a freshman. The dude's out here, winning national championships. Like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till we get him into our facility. But yet we see Arch Manning's like, yeah, his uncles are cool. His dad or his grandfather played in the NFL and he can't beat out, Quinn Ewers. And now Texas says, well, he's going to play this year and we don't know how good he's going to be. So we might need his senior year at this point. See where I'm going with this? Where it's like, yes, everybody wants to tank for Arch because of the name itself, because if you did get Peyton Manning, that worked out pretty well for the Indianapolis Colts. If you did end up San Diego trading, Eli Manning to New York, it worked out really well technically also for San Diego back in the day because they did get, Phillip Rivers in that deal. And then Eli goes over and wins a couple Super Bowls with the Giants. So that hype is coming through, but we haven't seen it, Joe. Is there a chance? And look, if the hype is real, it's going to work, but not like, hey, wait a second. He didn't play all that well against Ohio State. By the end of September, we're having conversations like, because Texas running 5-star quarterbacks right behind him. Maybe Arch isn't the guy, or is this, we told his family he's going to start no matter what. We'll work through this.
It's funny because the hype is real, but yet the betting market is telling you, pump the brakes here. He's like the third favorite to be the best college football player this season, which is interesting, fourth actually there. So that is a very interesting dynamic where the media and the hype surrounding him in Texas is huge, but the market's like, yeah, they may be good, but let's not anoint him the best player just yet. My question is, Donnie, is there value backing it now? Does that number get worse or does that number get better the more that, Texas wins that first game and he puts up some numbers against Ohio State at the shoe? What's his number going to at that point?
I do think it gets better. And the reason behind it is I think a lot of people are apprehensive, Joe, saying like, yes, I'm going to bet this guy right now because, correct me if I'm wrong, you walk into a sports book today, you put $100 on Arch Manning, and he doesn't actually come out in the draft, you don't get your money back. It's not like, oh, well, he didn't come, because that's what you're betting on right now. You figure if he has a good season, the intangibles are there that are going to push him way up the board in the NFL draft. Even if you think he's the third or fourth guy, he might go number one overall. But that's why I think it's so low. If he plays well, and just the fact that he said, I haven't made up my mind because he would have just backed up his grandfather. Yeah, what he's saying is right. My plan is to stay all 4 years. He didn't say that. What he basically told us, he's like, I'm not going to embarrass my grandfather here, but he has no idea what's going through my mind right now. Oh, yeah.
That's correct.
That's what the topics are flowing here. And hour number 2 is coming up next with more hot topics, and we're going to reset the market. Let's do it. What we do in the early line. We'll be right back.